So I was out fiddle farting around out on the range and doing some stuff, this and that, and I had reason to pull out one of my bench rest guns to baseline some stuff. And I decided, where I'd left the last segment was, I was trying to explain a little bit where we're going with this series about taking bench rest ideas, not ideas, proven bench rest concepts across to hunting guns or other, like applying them to long range bench rest guns. So I realized I'm going to show you pretty much a state-of-the-art 6 ppc bench rest gun and just walk through it. Now this is going to be boring for some. If you don't care, you don't care. And it's got an ugly barrel on it, so that'll help. But let me start by saying this is proven tech. To any of you out there who want to experience accuracy, I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. Find yourself a bench, sell everything you got and buy a bench rest gun. You want to see real accuracy? A bench rest gun is where it's at. So I brought one in here and I'm going to show you some of the things, some of the features on a bench rest. This is a 100 yard, 10.5 pound bench rest rifle. This particular one is a Borden, put together, except for this barrel. Now don't look at the barrel at this point. This is a state-of-the-art Borden rifle setup. This is a stock of which, if I could get 10 more of these, I would just buy them. Jim was building these, having them built. He spec'd, he designed. This is a fantastic stock right here. It isn't built anymore. It's hollow inside, got gussets. I love this stock. But in the last segment, remember I talked about the meaty forend? Now this width is something else. This width is the maximum width allowable in this particular 100, 200 yard group shooting format to keep the gun from tipping over. This is the max width support. But I submit there's more to it than that. There's a weight, the tuning fork effect here, a big meaty grip section. And understand that this action, this is an 1.350" metal action. It is glued in forevermore. This action has never been out of this stock. This has been on airplanes. This has been fired, I don't know how many times. This particular one is, this is an old setup. This is an old TPE action back when Jim was having them contracted out by folks we shall not name. You load in the left side, throw the cartridges in this side. There's a micro port on the other side. You can see that it goes right through. You load on one side, it throws them out the other side. This is a tested and proven concept 6 ppc rifle. Unfortunately, it's got an experimental barrel on it right now. I'd probably better not even explain what this one's being used for. But there's a reason for this. See, I'm a sly old fart. I buy stuff from people that know how to build stuff that works. This is to give it a baseline. This gun has been to the Super Shoot. Had a situation a number of years ago where a fellow had flown in from Italy and customs had his guns screwed up, had his guns tied up, and he put out word on the inner tube if anybody had guns. And I had never shot this and still never have shot this gun in competition, but I knew it shot. It shot like some of my other stuff. I had bought it from Jim because I bought it used, because it came up for sale, because who knows, probably a tragedy of some sort. So, long story short, it's a 10.5 pound PPC. It did go to the Super Shoot. I sent it off to this guy to use, and he was very happy with its performance. He felt that the gun could have won the day. I know he was in second on one of the days, and that's a lot of shooters, and hanging in second, when you're in second at the end of the day, you did something right. But that said, this concept, this gun, all of these parts conspire together. 2-ounce trigger, minimalist butt plate. This particular butt plate's been modified because I've got a weighting system I built to use inside of it. Because again, this is one of my baseline guns. This glued action stock assembly is solid. It works. It's awesome. It's great. It's tested. It's proven. As a PPC, as a 6x47, as a 30x47. So I use this to test barrels, chambers, lead angles, pressures, balance. And this particular barrel is, we won't even talk about it. But the gun itself is one of my 5, I'm going to call them benchmark guns. The guns that I use, that known quantity guns, baseline guns, benchmark guns. So what I can do with this situation right here is known quantity gun. All of the weights work out, and this barrel is even weighted so that this is a kind of a, even though it's a funky looking thing, and it is chambered in my newest iteration, 4th iteration, 6 PPC Yo Mama, 266 neck. See, I'm playing with a big neck here, 710 of 19. So that's when this barrel was put together. What I'm using it for now, I'm doing some indexing. I've always got so much stuff going. One of the things that I'm working on is larger abutting surfaces at the barrel to action interface. The problems that I have are that if I was to go, right now I've got 5 barrels in the pipeline with Pacnor and Lilja, for instance, only because they'll do inch 350 shanks. I'm working on a huge 270 round. I have somebody just came out with heavy 270 bullets. Well, Berger, I guess, came out with them, probably something. Anyway, Brian Litz probably, you know, put the numbers to something, and they found some jackets, whatever it is. There's a new heavy 270 bullet out, so I'm designing and building. Maybe we'll get to talk about it. Maybe we'll get to see it. A cartridge called the 270 Hellbringer. I'll show you. This is the Hellbringer case. I've got it in all kind of sizes, 375. But what we're really going for is a 270. And this is just the kind of weirdness I engage in. This is a 300 WSM reamer, 35-degree shoulder angle, all the cool stuff about the 35 or the 30 WSM. This is my iteration, second, third go around of the 270 WSM, run in to accept 404 Jeffrey brass, 404 Jeffrey case. This is like an answer to the PRC mess. When you fire it, it automatically fat butts the case. It's pretty hard to see. I use this term fat butt all the time because when you make the base of a case larger, the chamber larger than the base of the case, and it pops it out, it offers a whole bunch of really cool things. Basically, it eliminates binding and clicking, because that's one of the banes of this, because this gun is designed, I was talking earlier about fast. It's got some binding because it hasn't been lubed for a while. I hate that. I want to just hit it and I want it to go. I want, bam, I want it down. But the point is, you're up on, the conditions are good, you're trying not to upset the bags, you're bringing it back, you're chucking one in the other side with your left hand, slapping it back forward. And I say slapping because you're trying to, it's fast and controlled, you're trying to get off your 5 rounds quickly. There's a lot of places where that's relevant, but in this particular case, you load the left side, throw out the right side, catch the cases so they don't go on the ground because they're worth $100 a piece. You drop a case on the ground, you cry like a baby. I do, because I'm crazy about my cases. The gun's bucking and kicking, and there's just all kinds of things. One of the other things we're going to go over is these bases on here. I can't count the number of times. Well, I glue them down. Now I just set myself up to be able to pin them, no matter what, pinned bases. Because these bases move. That's another thing that Rifle Accuracy-MAH09575 brought out, and I've tested it extensively. You take an inch 350 actions, got a certain cup, you have the bases built to match that cup, and you drive 2 screws in so that it goes down, and then you put glue in there. But that action's throwing around, and remember, this kind of a gun has got a pretty significant offset. The scope sits pretty high. So the recoil forces here exert that. You've got a long moment arm right here. It's trying to tear this out of the stock, which the glue takes care of. As this scope is going up and out, again, watch the YouTube videos. It's funny because back when I bought these guns, back when I got into bench rest, we didn't have these cheap YouTube camera guys out there, Taufledermaus and the high-speed guys, and you know, Dustin on Smarter Every Day. Destin, whatever his name is. Awesome guy. With their cool cameras, and they can show how much flipping and flopping. I had high-speed bow videos back in the day because Dwight Shue got under the lights with a few others, and they rented time, and they burnt up miles and miles of conventional film under the 300-400 degree lights, filming themselves shooting bows, and how the bow itself, the arrow is doing this, the bow is, now it's all old hat. You can just go find it anywhere. But when this stuff was being done, when this was being developed, we didn't have access to these high-speed cameras. Now I can go out on my range and I can track pistol bullets to the target. I can monitor an arrow in flight. I'm not taking pictures of guns in vibration in action because there's plenty of them already available. But this vibration cycle, this thing is what we're going after. This gun approaches and solves all of the problems. This action is glued to this stock. This is a one-piece assembly, essentially. We've turned this into a single tuning fork. When that barrel goes ba-wong-wong-wong, and this is going ba-wong-wong-wong, and as long as this joint right here holds, the scope is up here doing its ba-wong-wong-wong, everything is ringing like a tuning fork. It's not harmonized, but the concept of tuning, well, I've got a little time on this segment, so let me show you what tuning actually is. I've got a paper right here. If I can find a pen, there we go. In 100 yards, you're looking through, your line of sight is like this. Your gun is pointed upward like this. The bullet goes out of the gun and comes back down through your line of sight. I think this is all pretty standard stuff. Now, time of flight, TOF, I might have to go to another pen, I wasn't prepared for this, dictates that if one bullet leaves 40 feet per second slower than another bullet, its time of flight is going to be different. And because it's slower, it's going to be in the air a little longer, so it's going to fall a little bit more due to gravity. Now at 100 yards, this is really hard to find. It's really hard to recognize. At 1,000 yards, it becomes really significant. 40 feet per second drops you right out of the X-ring, unless there's some compensation going on with vibration. So here's what actually happens. The actual effect of tuning in its simplest terms. I'm going to take this sheet off, flip it over, in simple terms, the concept of tuning is that the slower bullets and the faster bullets all converge at the same point. And that's done through this vibration cycle. As the barrel is vibrating up and down, the slower bullets are launched at a higher angle, because in simple fact, when you run the numbers, it's almost impossible to get the size of groups that we're getting, these little bitty 10th minute groups. The tiny groups that are achievable with this gun right here defy the laws of physics unless we change the laws of physics. Now, just to give you an example of some of the things that have been done, I know a bunch of guys who deal with something called stretchers. They actually take a barrel, not this size, this is a tiny little barrel. They take one at this shank size, which is an inch 250. They take straight inch 250 barrels, thread the ends, build an assembly to stretch those barrels. Put them into tension such that they act more rigidly during the firing cycle, do less of this. Some of them have got water jackets around them so that they cool. Some of the concept of stretching rifle barrels has been explored by 4 different people that I know. Another barrel maker that I know took rebar, like 2 or 3 inch diameter rebar, and made a barrel out of it. Other barrel makers that I've known have made them out of square blocks or round, huge. I'm a concrete guy. So years ago, one of the first things I thought about doing was sticking a barrel through a block of concrete, pouring concrete around it. So I got this 1,000-pound block of concrete with a rifle barrel embedded in it. Shoot it. It can't exhibit any movement. It has to just go right into the same hole. For an unlimited gun, all I have to do is take a couple guys out there and carry this 300-pound block of concrete out, set it on the bench, line it up, bam, 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 win. Okay? In simple fact, a 1,000-pound block of concrete with a rifle barrel cast into it that's bolted to a concrete bench so that it doesn't move in a week shoots larger groups than this gun. This gun is capable of shooting smaller groups than a block of steel with a rifle bore in it. A barrel this big around. A solid poured concrete block. And the reason is this vibration compensation tuning thing. And I need to hammer and hammer and hammer on that till I make it perfectly clear that this is really important. When Harold Vaughn died, I've referenced him before, and that's what kind of got this stuff started. He had material for some more books, and one of the things he was working on was the concept of making a barrel heavy but yet flexible. Heavy is because the barrel acts as a heat sink through your string of 5 or 10 or 6 or 7 or 8 up to 12 or 14 shots. That barrel has to be able to absorb that heat and not get too terribly hot, or residual stresses will cause it most often to start warping. And unfortunately, all the heat treatment in the world can't get rid of all the stresses in a barrel, and worse than that, the next barrel is going to be different. So, the reason for the fat barrel is not specifically for accuracy, it's so that the barrel can act as a heat sink. Contour of the barrel affects its vibrations. 22 guys have been putting bloop tubes on the end and weighting the end or reverse tapers for years and years and years to get the barrel to act more loosely, to be less stiff, or to decrease the stiffness of the beam. One of the things Harold was really hot on, he was working hard trying to figure out how to electroplate lead to form a bond such that he could take a small gun barrel and surround it with lead to dramatically increase the weight factor, give it no strength. Well, of course, he ran into problems with the bonding of the lead to the barrel, but that was one of the hottest things on his plate when he passed. Harold was trying to make barrels that were heavier and whippier, all in the interest of trying to control vibrations more consistently, because you cannot eliminate in a poured block of concrete You cannot eliminate the vibration. A tuned 10-pound gun is more accurate than a block of concrete.